You won't believe how chaotic things have gotten within the Brown family of late. Imagine a man caught in the midst of his own whirlwind existence, trying to hold together a family falling apart due to jealousy, favoritism, and unchecked emotion. That man is Kody Brown, and right in the middle of all this is his all-consuming affair with Robyn, his favorite wife. But suppose that favoritism is not merely a backroom affair. Suppose it erupts into resentment, pain, and chilly rejection by the other wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine. The Brown family, one-time polygamy poster child, is now an image of emotional fragmentation and acrimonious brotherhood. Hey friends, I'm Aariaa, and welcome back to TLC Next Reveal. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell, because today we're unpacking one of the most complicated, emotional, and painful stories in the Sister Wives saga. Kody Brown's struggle to keep his family together while navigating accusations, guilt, and the fallout of favoritism. Seriously, you'll want to stay tuned for this one. And let me know in the comments, is favoritism always a disaster in polygamous families? Or is there more to this story? We're diving deep into how Kody's obsessive focus on Robyn has pushed the other wives away, how the rifts have only grown deeper over time, and what it really means for a family when love, loyalty, and power get wildly out of balance. We'll dissect how public confrontations, particularly those emotional tell-all interviews, did not work, but instead hurt, isolating Kody and Robyn more than ever. So buckle up. This isn't reality TV drama. This is raw emotional family implosion, and you're going to hear all about it here. Let's get set up. To literally see how everything came undone, you have to know the very unconventional structure of the Brown family. Kody Brown had 4 wives: Robyn, Mary, Janelle, and Christine. Having one relationship is complicated enough, but several inside a family unit? That's a whole other degree of complexity. Emotions are strained, allegiances are pushed to the limit, and jealousy? Well, in a setup like that, it's hardly surprising. Kody's dynamic with Robyn was unlike the rest from the beginning. She clearly communicated to him that he was important. It was not just subtle. Everyone noticed it. Viewers noticed it. And the other wives noticed it too. Kody spent more time with her, made her needs a priority, and treated her differently than the others. And that favoritism not only created tension, it created emotional damage. Mary, the wife married the longest to Kody, felt left behind and neglected. Janelle and Christine also started emotionally and physically withdrawing. This was not jealousy, it was feeling devalued and neglected. Those feelings simmered for an extremely long time. But as the show progressed, cracks in the family's foundation widened and grew. We saw real moments of pain. Mary talking about how lonely she was in her own marriage. Janelle confessing how difficult it was to compete for Kody's attention. Christine finally severing herself completely, describing how the favoritism wasn't just hurtful, but a relationship ender. The show did not shy away from this emotional pain. In fact, some of the show's most dramatic episodes captured heated fights and tearful conversations between Kody and his wives. You could feel the fury bubbling just below the surface. This was bigger than itsy-bitsy brawls. This was a dysfunctional family grappling with scars that never really healed. And that physical distance Kody kept from his wives? Distance wasn't it. It was emotional alienation. All of this set the stage for the full-blown breakdown we're witnessing now. Because when private pain becomes public, when it's laid bare for the world to see, the heartbreak hits even harder, and the divisions become impossible to hide. The Brown family was starting to feel less like a united front and more like a fractured group, each person struggling to hold on to whatever was left. And set against that, it's easier to understand how Kody's preference for Robyn wasn't just a taste thing. It was the match that ignited a family drama that they all couldn't help but be a part of. And trust me, only got nastier from there. Okay, friends, now that we've gotten the Brown family's convoluted past on the table, it's time to get real about the emotional bleed through. And for real, it's heartbreaking. How Mary, Janelle, and Christine responded to Kody's self-evident favoritism of Robyn indicates how deep the cracks were in this family. These women weren't just made to feel excluded. They felt hurt, betrayed, and in a few cases, completely shut off. Let's start with Mary. She is with Kody the longest. So when favoritism towards Robyn became unmistakable, she was especially affected. Over a couple of different episodes, you could see Mary attempting to struggle against her emotions, attempt to make sense of what was happening with the family she had helped build. One of the most poignant was when Mary discussed losing her position in the family, the one she'd toiled to achieve. This wasn't catty jealousy. This was emotional detachment. A woman watching the life she constructed fall apart before her eyes, and it wasn't a physical distance. Mary was pulling away emotionally, quietly trying to protect herself from further pain. Then there is Janelle. Janelle typically was the peacemaker, the one trying to keep the family grounded with attention, but it's clear from her interviews how exhausting that role became. She wanted harmony. She believed in the family. But when the favoritism towards Robyn became intolerable, it wore her down. She explained the sense of always being in between being loyal to Kody and being loyal to herself. That inner turmoil was clearly draining her energy and her emotional state. And then there's Christine, whose story is perhaps most dramatic of all. Unlike Mary and Janelle, Christine did eventually make the tough decision to leave the family. But her exit wasn't sudden. It was the result of years of emotional mistreatment, anger bottled up inside, and living in Robyn's shadow. In one of her most open interviews, Christine stated that being repeatedly ignored day after day was demoralizing, and at some point, that emotional burden became too much to handle. She detailed the burnout and the betrayal so vividly, and in the end, she did what she had to do. She left, not just Kody, but the entire dynamic that had harmed her so deeply. She left big. She left bold. And it made a statement to the world that there was something very seriously wrong within this family. These cracks between the wives weren't just affecting their marriages to Kody. They had echoes throughout the whole family. The Browns evolved from a seemingly close-knit family to individuals with emotional wounds, some that ran too deeply to heal. The arguing we saw weren't just surface-level quarrels. They were products of loss, sorrow, and the effort to survive in an imbalanced love dynamic. Watching these women battle with their pain, you couldn't help but feel sorry for them. They were stuck in an entanglement of love, loyalty, and resentment, every thread binding them further apart. And the repercussions? It didn't stay undercover. It spilled over into the public domain. Fans, the media, and millions of viewers had their say, heaping pressure and publicity upon already fragile emotions. This was not a plot on television. This was a real family breaking up under the cameras. The emotional strain on Mary, Janelle, and Christine serves as a reminder of just how fragile family love can be, especially in a polygamous environment where partiality, albeit unconscious, can snowball into deep-seated conflict. So, when we look at Mary's withdrawal to peaceful solitude, Janelle's diligent work as the peacekeeper, and Christine's eventual departure, it's clear that this wasn't just drama. It was profound. It was visceral. It was authentic. And now, let's shine the spotlight on Cody Brown, the man in the middle of it all. Seeing Kody's saga unfold over the years, it becomes painfully obvious that he's in the middle of a whirlwind of guilt, rage, and denial that's destroying him from the inside out. You can see it. He's buried under the accusations, the new relationships, and both public and the pressure from his wives. And that inability to be fully responsible for himself, it's driving a lot of his frustration. One aspect that stands out particularly is the manner in which Kody becomes defensive when confronted with the growing fissures in his family. Especially in those emotional tell-all interviews, his answers sometimes sound raw and sometimes even explosive. Rather than speaking and being accountable for the pain caused by his favoritism, Kody will typically attack, at times at the wives, at times at the cameras, and sometimes even at himself. That anger Kody has, it's not all about what's going on. It looks like a buffer, something that protects him from experiencing the guilt and shame simmering beneath the surface. You can see it in times like the tell-alls, when things are most tense. Kody's crankiness boils over, and his anger and biting words, instead of bringing people closer, push them all away. What makes it more complicated is Kody's obsession with Robyn. Robyn is the one person he counts on, his anchor in the midst of this whack family unraveling. But in turn, that same level of profound intimacy with Robyn is what creates the widest gap between him and the rest of the family. Robyn is currently his safe haven and also why he feels alienated. Kody's focus on her is so dominant, so single-minded that it makes him oblivious to the hurt it causes Mary, Janelle, and Christine. And instead of taking a step back and reassessing, Kody tends to double down, defending Robyn publicly and pushing aside the other wives' hurt as overreacting or unfair. But here's the truth. His inability to empathize with Robyn while juggling love for her keeps driving the family apart. And in place of calming the tempest, Kody's defensiveness only fans the flames. That being said, there are still flashes, brief, raw ones, where you get little glimmers of Kody's inner battle. He's not just angry at everyone else, he's angry at himself. Glimmers of culpability are exposed in episodes. You can see that he recognizes things aren't going well. But instead of guilt leading to redemption, it becomes intertwined with God complexes, denial, and emotional disorientation. And that emotional cocktail makes it virtually impossible for him to admit error or even seek true reconciliation. So, Kody's tale? It's no longer just about favoritism anymore. It's about a man drowning in his own unresolved emotions, trying to juggle love, guilt, anger, and the pressure of holding a dysfunctional family together. His fixation on Robyn may make him feel safe or in control, but it isolates him and makes the fissures that are splitting his family apart more apparent. The way that Kody handles, or doesn't handle, these feelings has set the stage for the rest of the family's downfall. And whether he realizes it or not, his inner conflict has been one of the key reasons the Brown family collapsed. Let's talk about now what went on when all of this came out. The tell-all interviews, the TV appearance, the behind-the-scenes specials. These conversations weren't typical chats. They were charged, high-wire confrontations, a very public outpouring of shattered trust, betrayal, and suffering. And for Kody specifically, they became a battleground. Kody's tantrums on those tell-alls did more than indicate how wounded he was. They rattled the fan base. His defensiveness, his anger, the way he fired back when asked about favoritism or the shattered relationships, all of it painted the picture of a man tiptoeing around eggshells and a family in chaos. Instead of giving us clarity, these interviews only fed the fire further. And reality TV? It thrives on that drama. Every stinging retort, every sobbing confession, every uncomfortable silence, all of it received a boost. On Twitter, in tabloid magazines, everywhere. The Brown family's private wounds were on public display, no longer just the fans who were watching. It was everyone in the world, analyzing every sentence, every gaze, every meltdown. And that spotlight only made it harder. You might see how the pressure pushed Mary, Janelle, and Christine further apart in different directions. Watching their pain unfold on television, pain that all too often went unseen or worse, ignored by Kody, was hard. It made their isolation more acute, their resentment stronger. Instead of employing the platform to unite, the public spectacle of the whole seemed to highlight the divide. Mary retreated further into silence. Janelle became more worn down trying to hold things together. And Christine? Her departure started to look less of a possibility and more of a given. The tell-alls didn't spill only secrets. They set the scene. They told it to us straight and in no uncertain terms to the audience. This was no longer a functioning plural family. It was people trying to survive the detritus of a shared vision. And at the center of it all was Kody, emotionally disintegrating, lashing out, and unconsciously driving the very people he once called his soulmates away. Public scrutiny is a double-edged sword. Yes, it offers you a chance to present your side of things, but it heightens the pain. It hardens the barriers between people, and once words are out in the world, they cannot be taken back. For the Browns, that light did not give birth to healing. It brought scrutiny, criticism, and eventually more wounds. If we step back and actually look at the Brown family drama, it's hard not to notice how messy life becomes when you're trying to fit multiple relationships into one living arrangement. Polygamy isn't just more than one wife or husband. It's about living and dying with this intricate dance of love, loyalty, and power. These are dynamics that are hard enough with one marriage. Now multiply by 4. The Browns have given us a stark, brutally unvarnished illustration of how fragile that balance can be. But beneath the daily disagreements and outright tension, there is something more deeply going on driving this family apart. They've endured profound emotional pain, including the heartbreaking death of a son, something no family should have had to endure. That kind of pain doesn't heal with time. It leaves marks. It forms several layers of grief and room in relationships already strained. Unhealed pain like that doesn't stay quiet. It spreads. It festers in the silence between words, in tension at holiday gatherings, and in the places where there used to be love. Most tragically, though, the breakdown of the Brown family isn't about legal separations or whoever gets to stay in which house. The real fissure is emotional and symbolic. It's about broken trust, lost connection, and a family system that once appeared unbreakable, now on the outskirts. When you observe Mary, Janelle, and Christine growing apart, not physically, but emotionally, you can see how great the cracks are. These are not arguments. These are fractures at an identity level, where people who once called themselves sister wives now treat one another like strangers. While the reality TV focuses on the drama, the headlines, and the viral moments, there's a human price attached to it all. These are real human beings experiencing complicated feelings, complicated allegiances, and real losses. And that's something we need to remember every time we flick on the TV to watch their saga unfold. At its core is Kody and his unrelenting infatuation with Robyn. What once appeared as love or safety now looks like obsession. And that obsession is both his salvation and his loss. While Kody clings to Robyn in the midst of the turmoil, such devotion has kept him from seeing the actual pain it causes to everybody else. It's turned open sores to scar tissue. It's pitted him and the rest of the women who worked to build this family from the ground up against each other. This isn't a narrative about one marriage or one man. It's love entwined with betrayal, loyalty infused with resentment, and a family once close battling to hold on to what remains. Watching the Browns today, you feel the weight of those severed bonds. It's hard-hitting, it's ugly, it's tear-jerking real. So now I am curious to know from you, What do you think is on the horizon for Kody, Robyn, and the rest of the Brown family? Will they ever find a way back to each other? Or are we watching the final chapter in this once united family? Leave your comments below. I read them all, and I know many of you have wonderful insight into this journey. And if you like more real, unfiltered sister wives stories, don't forget to subscribe to TLC Next Reveal. Thanks for watching,